Hi, Jacob. This is Trevor Coleman, Mizzou baseball graduate assistant, and I wanted to take a look at your swing today with our video analysis. This is the second version. I apologize for the audio not being on, good enough to understand, I guess. We've had some computer issues, but hopefully this turns out a lot better. And if it's still not acceptable, please send us another email and we'll get it figured out for you. I want to make sure that we thank you for being a part of the Mizzou hitting experience this year. It's the first time we've done it, obviously, and we feel like it turned out pretty great. And one of the main reasons is you guys, yourself included, devotion to coming every Sunday, making it a fun atmosphere to compete against your peers, see how you stack up, and understand that it's not a whole lot of instruction while we're out there. So I'm glad you took up the opportunity to get this video made, so you can get some pointers on your swing. What you do well, what you don't do well, and ways to improve. So the first part, we're going to take a look at your swing just by itself, and then we're going to compare you to a Major League Baseball player. So here we go. Let's first just watch through it one time. It's kind of the routine for these analysis. So we'll get a couple swings in here. Okay, so we see from these swings. First of all, I want to point out that this is not in the T drill. Obviously, this is in the front toss portion of the camp, and because of that, it does add several different variables to the formula. It makes it more challenging, and then once you get a real pitcher on the mound, it becomes even more challenging to consistently be on time and do things mechanically to make yourself the most successful hitter that you can be. A few things we point out in our stance, is where I want to start with you, is it's unique to everyone. Okay, so the stance is a stance. Each person is entitled, and we want to have their own stance. However, there are a few fundamental things that we need to accomplish within our stance. Right now, I want to point out that your legs are in a great position. Your lower body looks good. It's somewhat slightly open stance, which is fine, as long as when we go to stride and get to our launch position, we become square, which you will. But the area of emphasis I want to look at here is your hands. I'm going to go ahead and draw an oval around your hands. I want you to watch the movement within your hands throughout the load portion of your swing. So as we get our foot down, I missed the boat just a little bit on that. We have just slight hand movement backwards in what we call our load position. Okay. Ideally, we would start our hands closer towards our shoulder. Okay, somewhere in let's see here, kind of this area. The reason for that is we need to gain momentum within our load. Okay, one of the most difficult and challenging things about hitting is being on time for the pitch, being ready with our bat head in the strike zone when it's time for the ball to be in the strike zone. Okay, in order to do that, it's much easier if we already have our hands moving to a certain extent. Okay, right now I would call you a dead-handed hitter. It's not. Hopefully, it doesn't sound too negative, but the fact is that we don't move our hands much. So we need to generate momentum, and objects that are in motion tend to stay in motion. We're going to need to be in motion when that ball gets to us. So if we have a backward load phase with our hands, it's going to allow us to accurately and more powerfully hit the baseball. So if we start where that line is right there, okay, with our hands there, and then during our load phase, when we take our step and kind of sink into our legs a little bit, we push our hands back, we'll be in a better spot to more powerfully launch the barrel of the bat into the strike zone. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Okay. So right now, I would make the adjustment of your hands being where that line is. So when this happens, let's see here. When we start to swing, okay, they're not coming from a dead standstill. And another ramification of that is that we have to use, because we don't have much momentum with our hands already started, we have to use this part of our body to swing the bat. Okay, these bigger muscles in here. We want to be able to use these smaller muscles in our hands and forearms and wrists, along with some momentum from our backside, which we'll talk about in a second, through the baseball. Okay, to the baseball and through the baseball. If we're dead-handed, we have to use these large muscles that are more inaccurate, okay, less accurate than the smaller muscles, to be effective. Because of that, okay, I think that you need to keep your hands closer to your body and then load. Okay, and then when you do load, push them back. Okay. Now that we've covered that, let's continue here. When we get to contact, this is great that you hit up against a firm front side. Let me back this up just a couple clicks here. When you get to contact, okay, I like the fact, might get there a little too early actually. Yeah, maybe a little too early. Okay. Ideally, we would be locked out right at contact, or just after. Maybe we're a little too soon, but regardless, at contact and just after, we have a firm front side that we're working against, and that's awesome. Okay. And the reason why that's awesome is that it gives us some resistance to leverage our weight and our momentum against, if that makes sense. Okay. Then in the second part of the video, I'm going to explain to you how this relates and what the large majority of successful major leaguers use, some techniques and fundamentals in their swing to help them be successful, as well as a guy who really does a great job of loading with his hands. Okay, Edwin Encarnacion. So when we come back, we'll have his video pulled up, and we'll be able to analyze your swing and his swing side by side. Thanks, Jacob.